Right. Good morning again. So today is day three, and we have completed quite a bit in day one and day two. On certain topics of day one and day two, we went a bit deeper. And in today's session, we will be covering from where we left, that is the fine balance. In any image settings, there is no universal setting called certain high gain, high um, noise reduction. There is no setting like that. It's like a triangle, as I mentioned. Every setting affects the other. Okay. So yesterday, where we left off was the gain and noise. They are both related. You increase gain, noise increases. And then on top of that, you have noise reduction to eliminate the noise. But noise reduction also, if you use the high level of noise reduction, you can end up with ghosting. You'll have two, three people. You saw the video yesterday of the person walking through the door in the night time. You will see like a ghosting effect. So everything is somewhat related to each other. Just a second. Okay. 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 All right. So now we will see the fine balance. Before that, there's one more setting in the camera. It's called shutter speed. This one most of us already know. You increase the shutter speed. You increase the shutter speed. What is shutter speed? The closing and opening of um, the or shutter or iris, or I mean that the shutter in front of the camera. I think better to see a picture online. Just a second. Okay, so very simple here. This is the thing. Here we go. This is better. So the sensor is the one capturing the light. Every time the shutter closes, it takes that picture. Okay, it completes that and takes a picture. All right. So just to give more thought to this, I think this one. Da-da-da. Yeah, this should work. Wikipedia. So in front of the sensor, there is this like a door, and that opens and closes. Every time it closes, and also you can see the level of opening is the amount of light that passes through. Every time it closes, it completes that one frame. Okay, technically one. That's how it is. Technically a one frame. Um, okay, so shutter speed. Shutter speed. If it is slow, imagine this movement. If it is very slow, okay, it takes a lot of time to open and close. That means there is enough time for somebody to get inside. It's like the lift door, right? When you go inside the lift, if the door closes very slowly, someone can get in the last minute also. Same way, the light, enough time is there for the light to get inside. Then there is faster shutter speed. Some houses they have lifts which is very fast. Before you even enter, it will try to close and hit you. So that is the fast shutter speed. Light has no time to enter. It closes quickly. Okay. Now you might think keeping the shutter open for a long time is good, but the thing is, yeah, sure, a lot of light will go in, but the challenge is it still hasn't captured the picture. Okay, it's still waiting to complete the picture. Only when it closes it can complete the picture. So when the shutter speed is very slow, a person who's going moving faster, like this lady, is there is a it's a bus stop, so she's trying to get out of the bus. So the shutter has not closed. So she has been walking in the same frame from her seat to the door, right? So basically, it causes blurring because the same person uh, is in the same shutter, okay, or in the same frame. The lady is all the way from here, okay? This person is all the way from here, okay? Let me also trail effect. Yeah, great. I have one video. I just completely forgot. I have a video to explain this point, just to more emphasize more and make it clear. Okay, shutter speed. Yeah, perfect video. Uh, this one. Yeah. So this is from YouTube. The guy sets the shutter speed at 1 by okay 1 by 50. Now, when you pause the frame, you can see it's all blurry, blurry, blurry. Okay, the object is moving so fast that in the same frame the object is in two or three places. It's here, here, here. It's moved already quite a bit. Okay, so that's why it's blurry. You can't really make out the face. Shutter speed is 1 by 50. Okay, in 1 second it closes 50 times. Still, that is considered slow according to the camera. Okay, now if I make it 1 by 400, you can see now the picture or the person's face is suddenly clear. You can see the face. This is important in a CCTV. This is important in CCTV. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. Why is it important? You want to see who's entering through the door. You have a camera looking at the entrance. The person walks in faster. If the face is not clear, there's no point of having that camera. Same way you want to capture number plate. If the person is I mean, if the car is very fast and the shutter is not enough, then there is no point of that camera. Okay. All right. So just a second. Let me just check if everybody is able, if anyone is not able to join. Okay, so far most of them have joined. It should be fine. Okay. So just to conclude, higher shutter speed is good, can capture fast moving objects. But again, there is a downside. Okay. So slower shutter speed, faster. Okay. When you have a shutter speed that is very fast, it's very nice. It's good. You can capture shots like this, person jumping in the air, but the light gathering capability is reduced because you don't have enough time for the light to get inside. So, however, if it's a daytime sunlight, you don't have to worry about light. There is a lot of light available. But in the night time, when the shutter speed is light is already less, and when you increase the shutter speed in the night time, the image will become very, very dark. Okay. All right. So shutter speed is a kind of important feature also, not only in CCTV, almost in every industry involving cameras. So our takeaway here is, yeah, shutter speed is to be used if you're looking to capture fast moving objects. The point of contact is shutter speed. Check the shutter speed. Why I'm not able to see the person who's walking faster? Why I'm not able to see the car which is moving faster? Check the shutter speed. All right. If your object is not to really capture, faces, you just want to monitor what's happening, you can reduce your shutter speed, no problem. Okay. And the image will be brighter and will have will be brighter, simply brighter. That's it. So it'll be clear and it's fine. You don't have to make any changes. Now, another point for you is when you buy the camera vendor will not uh, set the shutter speed higher. He will set the shutter speed at standard or somewhat towards the lower side, 1 by 25, 1 by 50. This will be the standard. Okay, because that's where the image is very bright. So when you open it out of the box, the image looks very good. But when you try to look for the number plate, suddenly it's not enough. Okay, so adjusting the shutter speed is, it requires some manual effort. Okay, It's not automatic. Okay, now let's go back to the fine balance, um, which is how do you adjust a camera setting? So when you have a camera, this is an example taken by our Korean team in the lab in our office. So here they have, let's take, okay, so this is a typical scene. The scene has 300 lux, a good lighting. Okay, the scene has 300 lux, which means good lighting, right? You see the image looks very colorful, very bright, everything is perfect, right? Imagine a scene, outdoor scene, everything looks fine. Now in the night time, illumination is reduced from 300, now it became 5 lux, nighttime. Now the camera has to somehow give color picture, somehow give good picture. So what it does, it will reduce the shutter speed. It will reduce the shutter speed. Why? So it can catch more light. It can gather more light. Second, when it reduces shutter speed, of course, yeah, image will become brighter. That's fine. Then another thing that the camera does automatically is it will increase the gain. Gain. Why gain? Whatever light is there, it will amplify it. So you see the image, although it is 5 lux, it is night time, it looks like almost day because of gain. When you increase gain, there is a lot of noise. So noise reduction also is activated. SSNR means smart or Samsung super noise reduction. That is level 12, highest. I believe somewhere near the highest. So noise reduction level is also higher. All right. So this is the image. Overall, it might look nice. Everything looks fine. Everything is good. But when you pause the frame and try to check for the number plate, it is not clear. So overall monitoring is good, but when you want to do such specific investigation purpose, you find it's not very clear. So to answer one of the attendee question on how to change the shutter speed, uh, let's just go back to this camera web page. You change it. Yesterday we saw this, right? We were changing the what is that, uh, f-stop and so on. So let me change it back to automatic. Okay, do you see here minimum shutter, maximum shutter? So the shutter speed is actually set here. You can adjust the shutter speed. Many brands, they have minimum and maximum shutter. You don't have to put a specific number. You will only give a range to the camera, so the camera will switch between the range. If you make the range very narrow, that means you start from 100, that means the minimum it should do is 1 by 100. You got it? So you can tell the camera start from 250, so the minimum it should do is 250. By default, usually the cameras will be 1 by 25 or 1 by 50. So here it has been adjusted. Okay, next, maximum shutter. So in the same scene, suddenly maybe there is a strong light. So camera has to adjust, right? So you have to give, okay, that time increase the shutter speed because the same scene it can be daytime, nighttime. So you have to only give a range. You can't go and adjust the shutter speed every 1 hour when the sunlight goes down. It's not like that. You give a range. But some brands have an option called preferred shutter. I have not seen it in many brands. This we have an option called preferred shutter. That means you tell the camera, it's you recommend to the camera try to be on this shutter speed as much as possible. Okay, so this is a good setting. And also you tell the camera, okay, you can go lower also. Maybe in the daytime you can go lower, and then or some other situation you can go lower, but try to be as much as possible in 1 by 250. Okay, so this is a different setting that is available. Okay, so now going back to the example where the train, you're trying to capture the number plate, not very clear. How to fix? The first fix would be, of course, increase the shutter speed. Whenever the image is blurry, automatically you start with the shutter speed. When you increase the shutter speed, you can see the number plate. You can see some details, but you also see a effect called ghosting. I don't know if you can see through your monitor now. You can see the train, different layers of the front portion of the train is there. License plate, up and down. Here also you can see different borders of the train, multi-frames, right? This is called ghosting. So what you do again, because the ghosting happens because of noise reduction. So what our team did, from 12 noise reduction, they switched it off completely. When they switch off the noise reduction, suddenly your number plate is super clear. Did you notice? Your number plate is now from here, it became somewhat readable. Okay. But when you switch off noise reduction, the challenge is the image is not very great. Image is dark. It's okay, dark is not that much, but it is blurry. Okay, you can see pixelation or graining of the image. So if you see here, in a video mode, you can see graining, moving grains, right, or noise. In the old televisions, we used to have this. So it looks like that. Okay, it may not be acceptable. So you need noise reduction because the gain is very high. It is trying to convert night to day, right? That's why it's bright and colorful and so on. It's actually a night scene. Okay, so if you reduce the gain, if you reduce the gain, okay, now focus on the result alone at the moment. Number plate is clear, very clear, no issue. From this to this, clear. But again, still not acceptable because when you reduce the gain, the image became dark. All right, so if a person is walking there, you don't know where he's walking. So security wise, you are losing value for the camera that you installed. So now you need to find a sweet balance between all of them. Reduce the shutter speed a bit more, have some level of noise reduction, have some level of automatic gain control. So that's how you reach. Okay. All right. So now every camera, there is some help available to do this, and that is image presets. You don't have to go and adjust every time. All you do is tell the camera, I am looking for uh, number plate. So automatically the shutter speed will increase and reduce automatically. You can tell the camera, I'm just looking at an indoor scene. Okay. So automatically it will adjust the scene to the colorful image and so on. So you can tell the camera what you want and based on what preset you want, and then it will go and adjust automatically to that scene. Okay, so this can help uh, when you have a specific scene which belongs to these presets. If not, you can get in touch with our team to help you. That's why we have our system integrators, our team, to help and support with this. And not all scene requires extra effort, only the main entrances sometimes, and that too sometimes number plate areas. So because the camera by default comes with a standard setting, but the manual will tell you, please change this to so and so settings for number plate. So you have to change it. So that is the role of the installer. Okay. And okay, next point. Okay, networking. We will touch a little bit on networking. Um, we all know that every camera will have an IP address. Now we need to understand there are some words when you used in setting an IP address. Okay, so IP address is of course unique to each camera. Each will have a specific IP address, and you will hear words called subnet mask. You will hear words called gateway, and you will hear words called DNS servers. Okay, so we will touch on them. in our layman words so we understand what is the use of this. So here I have an example called to understand IP address. John Smith and his wife Lisa Smith, they are one family. They have a child, Emma Smith. Okay, so they all belong to the family or a group called Smith family. All right. So when when you talk about IP address and what is the difference between IP and sorry, what is the okay in network and host? Okay, we'll come to that. So um, so they all belong to the Smith family. How do you identify? This is called they belong to the Smith network. So you would have heard this word. It's outside the network. It's inside the network. It's in the local network. So it's in our network. So this word network means they all belong to each other. They can communicate with each other. So that is called a network ID. So Smith is the network ID, that is 192.168.0. Okay, till the third digit. It's not always the third digit. I will tell you in the next slide what how we can change the network ID. But right now for this IP address, uh, the 192.168.0 is the network ID, that is Smith, and each of them you can address it. How do you know under the Smith family who's joined? John is dot one, Lisa's dot two, Emma's dot three. Okay. Now let's say Brandon Walker is another person outside the family. His IP address is 192.168.2.1. So he belongs to a different family. Why? Because the network ID belongs or it's different. It's not zero. Only if it is zero, it belongs to the Smith family. It belongs to the same network. So this guy is on outside the network. Now, how do you know what is the network ID? How do you know the family name? That's where subnet mask comes into picture. Okay, so subnet mask, when you put 255.255.255, that means the first three digits belongs to the family name or network ID. Okay, so if you put 255.255, um, okay, family name. Okay, if you put 255.255.255, that means the first three sections or octet belongs to the family name. Rest of them is host ID, that individual person's ID. Okay, so when you put 255.255.255.0, the last one is the host ID. So subnet mask simply divides the network ID from host ID. If you put 255.255.0, that means the network ID is 192.168. Okay, and then host ID from starts from dot zero onwards. Okay, okay, we'll see that later. Then you will hear the word called gateway. Okay, gateway. Think of a gate. This is our one of our offices. Gateway. If you want to access outside network, you have to go through the gate. Okay, if the family has to speak to someone else, there is a gate through which they have to pass through to go to outside network to speak to another network. So that is called the gateway. All right, you have to tell what is the gateway address, how you can go. So if I want to tell you to go to Hanwha office, I will give you its location and then you will go through the gate. Same way, when a person has to communicate outside your local network, outside your network, you have to go through a gateway, that is called that is also referred to as the gateway. It can be used for exiting and also entrance. If someone wants to come in, he has to go through the gateway. All right, so now you got the idea of IP address, network, host ID, subnet mask, and gateway. Okay, in a very simple way. Next is LAN. LAN is okay, local area network. WAN, it's wide area network. Now you can think of WAN as your internet. LAN is your local office. Your laptops in your office. Everybody is on the LAN network, but all of you are speaking to the internet, right? You're connected to me through the internet. So all your PCs are connected to a device called router. Okay, so this router is responsible for connecting your local network to your WAN network. Okay, VPN. Okay, not very critical, not always used, but simply put, VPN is virtual private network. So imagine you have two offices in different cities, but you want to simulate as if they are in the same place. Okay, so right now you're in the office, everything looks fine, you're in the same network, but someone else working remotely should access your printer, should access your file server. So you have to simulate as if he's sitting in the office, right? So in order to create that connection, that is the virtual private network. Okay, so that person will connect to um, uh, a VPN service. Okay, it can be a hardware service. Physically, you buy a hardware and set up the VPN, or you can have a software. So what the tool does is it simulates, it makes as if although you're sitting somewhere else outside the office, it will make your connection as if you're sitting in the office. So now you're like a local person, a local IP. Okay, so that is the virtual private network. So uh, all the data is encrypted, so nobody can snoop and check what's happening. So that is the idea of VPN. Where is it used? In CCTV? So let's say a bank has multiple branches, so they will have a VPN network to connect all the branches, right? Tomorrow they want to send, let's say there is a new feature in the ATM. You think the guy will go to each ATM and update the ATM system? No, all the ATM network is linked in a virtual private network. It's not connected to the internet that okay, anybody can access that ATM. No, through a virtual private network they're all connected. Okay, so when they have an update, they will push the update through all the ATMs. So virtual VPN is similar concept. Same way you can have CCTV in different cameras and different ATM machines. You will have a VPN network, so you can remotely access all these sites as if you are sitting locally. Okay, next is IP classes. Simply put, um, this you can also see online, not that complex. Um, Typically, IP address range is split into Class A, Class B, Class C, Class A, Class B, Class C. Class A is what generally, if you have a very small setup, sorry, Class C, the IP address that we use 192.168, excuse me, that comes under Class C. So if your IP address starts from 192.168 range, and you can have up to 254 hosts per network. Okay, so this is Class C. If your IP address starts from 172 to 172.31 something, each network you can have up to 65,000 hosts. So it depends. If you have too many cameras, you may adopt a different class. Okay, that's the idea in CCTV. If you have 200 cameras or 50 cameras, you don't have to go and set up class B. You can use class C. If you have a very large setup, you may go for class B or class A. Most city surveillance, most of these large projects, they will use class A because they have a lot of IP addresses to manage, bigger corporates. Okay. Okay, how to set up the IP address? Usually the network manager or the IT manager, they will give you a scope. These are the IP addresses available. You can use it for your camera. Okay, now the camera by default, it will come with a setting called DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. Okay, host, just remember the word host. That means every camera requires an address, IP address. Okay, so when you connect your mobile phone through the Wi-Fi network, let's say you go to the airport, you connect to a Wi-Fi network, you never go and change IP settings. Automatically, everything is getting connected. Automatically, you're getting IP address. When you go to your home, automatically Wi-Fi is getting connected, you're getting an IP address. So that automatic connection is DHCP. Camera has this feature when you plug it to a network, automatically it will take an IP address from the switch. Okay, so that means the switch should be able to provide an automatic IP address. Okay, how will it provide? Switch will check in its table. Okay, I have given so and so IP to A, Ahmed and Mohammed and Samuel. So this IP is balanced. I will give it to a new person, John. Right. So switch will be a DHCP provider, and your camera should be able to receive that DHCP dynamic host automatically. One IP address it will receive. Okay, now the challenge in CCTV is we don't use DHCP much because you want to have control what IP the camera is taking, because every time you restart the camera or every time the router restarts, it will give some, maybe it will give a different IP address. So maybe, so you are thinking, for example, a camera, for example, right now I logged into the camera 192.168.1.56. 1.56. So tomorrow, if the IP changes, I'll be like looking for this camera at 1.56 and I have no idea where it went. Right? Again, day after tomorrow, somehow I find it. Then again, after 1 week or after 1 month, IP change. So that is a headache. So we never keep the camera in DHCP mode. We usually make it static. We usually make it fixed um, within the fixed IP range. Just a second. Okay, so when you go to the camera, there is an option called IP and port. You click on that, and from DHCP, we say change it to manual. Again, there is a nice toolbox available where you can do all this as a bulk for all the cameras together. So, for example, there is a tool here. We have this is called Device Manager. Most vendors have it. You will discover all the cameras in your network. After that, you will select and click IP, and then you will say what is the starting IP, what is the ending IP. It will automatically give each camera a specific IP address and apply. It will get saved. So it will from DHCP, it will give a static IP for all the cameras. So now, if this camera is 192.168.1.56, okay, and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0, that means these three octet or this three section, this is the network ID, this is the host ID, 56 is the host ID, means the actual address of the camera. Why? Because that's where the zero is. What is gateway? Gateway means if this camera has to talk outside to some other camera, um, or to, let's say, this camera has to send an alarm signal to another PTZ camera or NVR. It has to go outside the switch to the NVR network. So it will go through the IP address 1.1. It will reach there. That is a gateway. From there, it will go to the that's where the switch is, or that's where the router is, and from there it will go to the recorder. Okay. Next is DNS. We will see that. Okay. So I hope you got the idea. You can set the IP address to the camera. Now there is something called default IP. Default IP of CCTV camera. When you don't have a DHCP server, when you don't have any kind of network setup, and you plug the camera to the switch is not having DHCP settings or anything like that. So in that case, automatically the camera will go to an IP address. Each brand will have a specific IP address. So for example, Acti 0.100 or access 0.90. For us, it will go to 1.100. It will automatically go to that IP address. And from there, you can change to whatever you need. Okay. Okay. Now, okay, IP tools, we'll come back. Let's go to analytics. Any questions up to this point? Virendra Yadav, you have a question? I can unmute you. Okay. All right. So let's go to the next section, analytics. Okay. I'm going to jump directly to the artificial intelligence first, and then we will talk about the standard analytics. Okay. Okay. Now, there are two types of analytics in a broader perspective. Okay. In a very broad perspective, there are two types of analytics, two ways of doing analytics. Okay. The pixel based motion detection. What is pixel? Pixel is the smallest part of the image, right? One small section of the image is called a pixel. If any change occurred, if for example this robotic arm is moving, that means there is some movement, there is some change in the value of the pixel. So automatically the camera will think, ah, great, there is motion detection. So you can see here the person is walking. So this area, according to the camera, it detected motion detection. Okay. Now on the left side, the thing is both a robotic arm as well as a person, both of them are detected as motion. According to the camera, according to the camera, when you do pixel based motion detection, it is correct because there is change in the pixel. But according to a CCTV operator, he doesn't care if the robotic arm is moving. It's not causing any alarm. It is not causing any intrusion. It is standing in its place and doing its job. So in this case, the camera analytics is causing unnecessarily alarm saying there is motion, but actually there is not. Okay, only you should only the camera should be interested in the person moving. So that's where artificial intelligence comes in, where the camera has been trained, where the camera has been trained by the vendor to understand what is or who is a human being in the scene, okay, and who is not. So it will only look for the trained objects called human beings in the scene and then detect. So if you have an AI, artificial intelligence camera, it knows the robotic arm is not a human, and it only triggers an alarm based on the person moving in the scene. Okay. Now, what is the challenge of this, or what is the additional benefit in the traditional analytics? Okay, these are real videos. A camera with standard motion detection, whenever there is a light change, you see the door opened, so the scene pixel value changed. Okay, light occurred all the way till here, from the entrance of the door till wherever the light has gone. So according to the camera, there is a lot of motion in this big area. However, in AI camera, it doesn't matter. Light is not what is being triggered. It is looking for a person, actual person. It is trained to look for the person in the scene. So in a CCTV environment, light changes are common, right? Every time there is a car passing through, light will change. Every time there is a car with a headlight, light will change. Every time day to night when the street lights are on, so many things can happen with the light. So it will change. So that is another headache. Next is also, I had one more video. I think it's not here. Let me pull it out. Just a second, please. Okay, here we go. Rain video. Okay, all right. I think it's not here. Anyway, so let's say if it is raining, So raining means what? There is a change in the scene. So every time there is a rain, it will cause alarm. So every time there is a wind, when the wind moves the trees and leaves, it will cause alarm. Whenever there is a shadow moving, it will cause alarm. That is the thing with normal camera using pixel based detection. Okay, pixel based detection. But cameras are not really that stupid. They have features to eliminate those false alarms. For example, if you go to the camera, let me open it up. If you go to the camera setting, a traditional camera, I have opened a traditional camera. When you go to analytics, you have option called mask certain zone. So you have option called exclude area. So include means which area the camera should look for motion detection. So you can adjust that area. You can say I'm looking for motion detection this area, and you can exclude some area. You can say this particular area there is always some movement, some car is always going, some other events or anything that is constantly happening that can cause motion. So you can exclude that area. Okay, second. Okay, back to analytics. So even in the traditional analytics, you have option to exclude some area. Okay, that is fine. Okay, what next? You have option to do something called level of detection. So you can say in this area, if I'm doing motion detection, it will measure the current level of movement. Okay, the software will currently check. Okay, in this scene, there is a certain level of movement always. There is some movement in the scene. Let's say you're monitoring a seashore, so the sea is always having waves, so there is some movement. There is wind, there is some level of wind. So you can tell the camera, okay, don't cause alarm for small movement, make it higher. Above that, if the intensity of that movement is higher, then you trigger alarm. You have option to increase or decrease sensitivity, how sensitive the camera should be to the change in the pixels. You can adjust that. Then minimum duration, if a guy is crossing the door, I'm not interested. Maybe it will take less than 1 second for him to cross the door outside. So I can say I'm not interested. But if he's coming inside the training room, he will require at least 1 second to come inside. So if I say 1 second, and if a person is just if a person is outside, he's just crossing the outside the room, within a second he will just cross. That's okay, it doesn't matter. So I can tell the camera to detect the motion only after 2 seconds. Okay, I can do that. Then there is other option called common setting. You can tell the camera, don't detect small objects, detect object which should be at least the size of the blue color box, which is at least 90 by 180 pixel size. So if a small cat or dog is passing through, it will reject that alarm. But the problem is still, you cannot tell person or car or robot. If a robot is as big as the blue color box, it will detect. If a car is as big as a blue color box, it will detect. Maybe you're interested only in the person. You got it. So you cannot really so yeah, whenever there is a person coming in, it is detecting that, and it tells you what is the level of movement. Okay, but I set the bar higher. So if only if the movement is much higher than this bar, it will trigger the alarm. So there are many ways to filter nuisance alarm. Okay, it is a real alarm, but it is unnecessary. Okay, uh, but you still cannot figure out. I mean, you still cannot control everything. Here, for example, the tree is as big as a human being. What will you do? Every time the tree moves with the wind, it will cause alarm. Every time the shadow moves with the tree, it will cause alarm. So you cannot avoid it. So false alarms or nuisance alarm will occur. That's why you have AI camera. AI camera, since it is trained to detect a person or a car, and nothing else. So, or you can train for specific objects. So it doesn't matter where the person is, where the car is. If it sees, it will detect it. You see, there is a person standing here, it detected. There's a car coming through. All the different box color for different objects, it will detect. Okay, even behind the tree, it detected. Okay, how did it detect? By using under AI, there is a technology method called deep learning. Okay, there are two ways of doing AI. Artificial intelligence, there are two ways generally used, not like two different ways. They all come under the same category of artificial intelligence. Okay, it all belongs to the same umbrella. It all belongs to CCTV. But CCTV, you have dome camera, bullet camera, you have a low light camera, you have a standard camera, you have some very poor camera. Everything falls under CCTV. Same way, artificial intelligence is a group, it's a big name. But under that, you have cameras which have two functions, one machine learning, other one deep learning. Deep learning is the real artificial intelligence camera. A machine learning camera is not very useful in CCTV. It will cause again, it is as machine learning camera is almost as same as uh, like a pixel based. It will cause unnecessary alarms. Why? What is machine learning? Machine learning means you the programmer will tell the camera how to detect. Okay, it will, for example, if I have to differentiate between cat and dog, the programmer will say look for animals with you know pointed ear. Look for animal with pointed ear, not folded ear, pointed ear. So that will be coming under the criteria of cat. If it is having pointed ear, it will be cat. If it is having drooping ear, it will be a dog. Based on the program, based on the information given by the developer, the camera will now look for objects. When it sees a cat with a folded ear, according to the program, only pointed ear should be dog, folded ear should be, sorry, pointed ear should be cat, folded ear should be a dog. So according to the program, this animal, although it's a cat, according to machine learning, it's a dog. Okay, so there is a problem with machine learning. So how does it work in CCTV? You will tell the camera a person should have uh, hands, leg, feet. If, for example, this guy is hiding behind the tree and only his face is visible, according to the program, there is no hands, only face is there. It will say it's not a person, but actually there is a person hiding. Okay, again, if the person is according to the camera, the person will be at least 1 meter or above height. But what if he's crawling, he fell down, or he's just crawling and trying to intrude the property? It will ignore because the height is very less. It will think maybe it is some animal, it's not a person. So machine learning, you cannot put all the scenarios in the world. Okay, the person, as he goes far and far from the scene, he becomes smaller and smaller. Who will program that? Okay, this scene is bright. What about night time? He's not facing the camera. Where is the eyes? So it becomes very complex to do a machine learning for a CCTV scene. If you're doing machine learning for some other factory or a controlled environment where you're looking for A or B, okay, if it is not A, it is B. But here, and everything is, in a manufacturing line, if you want to find a defect, it's either non not defect. Let's say a tile factory, there is a camera with machine learning, and the machine learning, you will say the tile should be of certain size, certain color, certain this, certain no cracks. That's it. Anything else broken. So that is simple. No change, no lighting change, no color change, no tile size change, nothing change. Machine learning is okay. But if you go and use their deep learning, that means you are spending more money. Deep learning is very, very processor intensive, but it's very accurate. Okay. So CCTV scene is complex. You must use deep learning. If you don't have to take into assumption saying just because the camera is AI, it is deep learning. No, there are vendors still supplying AI camera. They call it AI, but they use machine learning. Okay. So for us, we don't use any machine learning in our AI cameras, but we have seen people getting duped, or you can say people getting because of less knowledge, they buy into the fact that they are having a deep learning camera, and when they install on the site, again there is a lot of false alarms, and then they lose faith in artificial intelligence. Okay. Okay, that's why deep learning. Okay, now machine learning is like this. So what is deep learning? Deep learning means the operator is not going to tell what is the height of the person. The operator is not going to tell, or the developer is not going to tell what is the how the ear is, how the cat moves, how the cat walks. He's not going to do anything like that. He will show in front of the camera thousands of pictures of human beings. So going back to deep learning, it's like a human brain, just like how a human is learning, right? Just like how a human being learns. So for example, we know what's a monitor, right? You're looking at a monitor. If the monitor changes color or shape, you still know it is a monitor. Okay, if you change the brand, and if it is a bigger inch, you still know it's a monitor, because you have, from experience, you have seen different kinds of monitors, and you know they all come to the same category. Same way here, when you saw this basketball, you know it's a basketball, right? Nobody went to school and to learn. Nobody programmed into you saying a basketball is orange color, this and that. Somebody told you. Based on that experience, even if the ball is smaller, you know it is probably a basketball, right? Just by the color, you can imagine, automatically your brain can imagine yourself holding it. You know it's not rectangular, it is circular. So your brain is making all this calculation based on your experience since your childhood, based on the experience and learning that you have done, subconsciously, and based on that you're deciding it's a basketball. Same way in CCTV camera, we just show in front of the camera human beings, different people, different places. We just show photos of at least around 100,000 pictures of human beings of different age, gender, and we tell this is a male. That's it. Automatically, the camera will try to understand. Oh, a male will look like this. He can be of certain height. His face can be of certain type. He can have facial hair like this. Automatically, the camera will develop the algorithm. Okay, so that is deep learning. That's why it's like a human brain. Visual learning is like mechanical. Then you have that's why even in a scene as complex as this, it can even detect a person here, or it can detect a car behind the tree. Even with partial area or partial uh, image, it knows, okay, it is that. Okay, even if the person is walking behind, if the he's crawling or is running, is hiding behind the tree, doesn't matter. It knows it's a person. Okay, so it can make the best judgment just like a human being. Okay, on AI camera, you can do many things. You can tell the camera, this is not a restricted area. This, you can draw a line and you can say no person is allowed, but car is allowed. It's a traffic area. Person is not allowed, car is not allowed. But in a normal camera, you cannot do that with pixel. You cannot say which pixel is person or car, right? So you can do that with AI. You can, because it's already trained, you can say, okay, no crossing allowed, no trespassing allowed, only cars can come in. Or you can say no cars allowed, only human being. It's a pedestrian walking area. Okay, you can make all this analytics much more efficient using AI. Secondly, AI cameras can also learn from the scene, not only if they are human beings, but they can also learn whether they're a male or a female. They can learn whether the person what color shirt is wearing, because we show in front of the camera red shirt, and we say this is all red color shirt, so the camera will learn it. So here, if I'm looking for a person wearing a red shirt, I will search in the VMS, any VMS you can use. You can search in the VMS and you can say show me all the people, and filter by, okay, male wearing red color shirt, show me all the male wearing red shirt. And when you click on a specific photo that the camera has captured, the video will play on the right side. On the right side, the video is there. You can click on the play button and the video will play and you can see the incident. So it is good for investigation. It is good for rule setting. You can say no person allowed, no car allowed, no bike allowed. You can even categorize which type of car is allowed, which type of, for example, you can say bus is not allowed in this area, but car is allowed. So you can customize that. as you like. So let me see if I have a device here to show. In, and we'll take a break in a few minutes after this. So let me log in, go to settings, analytics, AI. Now you can tell the camera what to detect. I want to detect person. I want to detect a face only. I want to detect a vehicle. What type of vehicle? Because we have trained the camera to even detect type of vehicle, motorbike, bus. So you can put a line and say in this line, vehicle, truck is not allowed. So you can customize even that much. You can say a car is allowed, but truck is not allowed. So give me alarm. You can draw 8 lines, by the way, around your property. You can draw up to 8 lines. You can again create, additionally you can create an area and say this is parking is not allowed for trucks or cars or all vehicles. Okay, so you can make 8 areas. Okay, so all this customizable you can do. You can also do counting of people, count all the people who came through and so on. All right, so this is the idea behind AI camera. You can detect specific objects and then you can use it for creating alarm. And not only that, you can, there is no limit today what you can do with AI. You, for example, they want to do detection of heavy trucks. You can train the camera to do heavy truck detection, and the training is done in the vendor side. The vendor will do the training. You don't have to do any kind of training. You just buy the camera, install it. All the analytics are in the camera. No separate licenses for any of this feature. Okay, so that's the benefit today. Back in the day, people would buy analytics. They'll buy separate server. They'll buy separate license for analytics. But that's not the case today. Today, the cameras, CCTV camera is powerful enough, their chipset is powerful enough to run all these analytics on the camera itself. So you don't depend on additional hardware, additional licenses or yearly licenses of any sort to do the analytics. All right, so let's take a break and we'll be back in 12 minutes. Okay, let's continue. All right, next is on-with. What is on-with? Um, on-with is a protocol used in CCTV, and it is used for interoperability. Okay, cameras. There are more than 300 vendors. How they can all work together with different recording solutions. So, Access, Pelco, Hanwha, Milestone, Genetec, Bosch, Sony, then Avigilon. Uh, so many brands are there, right? Milestone VMS, Genetec VMS, and all the other companies also have VMSs. Just a second. Okay, so um, interoperability. Interoperability means a camera you can buy from Korea. You can buy a recording solution from Germany, and you can have it connected together through this universal inter communication language called ONWIF. So ONWIF is Open Network Video Interface Forum. The short form is ONWIF. The full form is not very famous, but the short market. How do you put it? For us, take I am communicating to you in. Okay, yeah, sure. Let me just check my audio. Give me a second. The Wi-Fi connection for better connectivity. All right. So we were talking about OnWave. There is it's not audible. Okay, OnWave. Okay, Open Network Video Interface Forum. OnWave. This is used for interoperability. You can purchase a camera from any vendor. You can buy the recording solution from any brand, any vendor. They can be different parts of the world, but they can all communicate with each other. Camera can send video and record from Korea. I mean, let's say you are buying from us, Hanwha. Hanwha, we are a South Korean company. So you bought a camera from us, and you are buying a VMS, maybe from some other company in Germany. You can connect our camera with a German-based VMS software because we both speak a common language called ONWIF, Open Network Video Interface Forum. Full form is not important. Like I said, only the short form is very commonly known in CCTV. Okay, so again, the example that I took was our communication right now is English, right? You are able to understand, each of you from different parts of the world, you are able to understand because we have a common language, that is English. Same way in camera, there's a common language called English. In BMS, there is BACnet, then there is LON for lighting, KNX protocol. So these are different protocols, BACnet protocol. These are protocols for common communication. Okay, so OnWIF S is the okay. This communication platform. There is different levels: beginner level, advanced level, junior level, and so on. Same way, OnWIF S is the basic level that you should look for. Okay, a camera can have 50 analytics, but if it supports OnWIF S, that means it can only send video, and PTZ means you can move the camera, make some changes. That's it. Rest of the things you cannot receive it on the VMS. If the camera is sending motion or some special analytics, maybe it is detecting person object detection, it may not be able to send it through OnWIF because OnWIF S, that protocol does not support advanced functions. Okay, same way there are different levels of OnWIF, and again to correct the different levels, you need to have all the level. Okay, so you cannot directly go and say my camera is on with M. You cannot do that. A camera should fulfill S plus G plus T plus M. Okay, so that's the, yeah, good question. Does on with M include all feature? No, it's not a replacement, it is an addition. Okay, it's like grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, you have to finish the grades and then go to on with M. All right, so on with S mandatory is the minimum that is mandatory because that is the basic job of camera is to give video, right? That is guaranteed by OnWIF S. Okay, OnWIF S does not guarantee H.265, only H.264 is guaranteed. That's why OnWIF T came. T supports H.265. Okay, now today we have artificial intelligence camera. So OnWIF M is for these AI based cameras. So if your camera is not AI, it will not have M. It may not have. Okay, so older cameras may not have. So you cannot say I need a camera with M, but you didn't ask for AI camera. Okay, so minimum is S if you, and T today because you're doing H.265 also, right? And the Q used to be famous, but now it is obsolete because Q has a cyber security reason. So anybody can access the camera without a password, but that standard has been reduced because of cybercrime. Then on with G used to be famous also. It's for SD card based recording. Again, it didn't catch up much, so that is also not very popular. STM, these are commonly used, out of which S is minimum. T should be there, recommended. If you have AI camera, M should be there. I hope it's clear. Okay, so OnWIF is not a government body. It's a group of vendors who write the spec, common spec. So we are one of the members who write the spec also, part of the technical committee. You can go to onwif.org website and you can find out whether your camera is OnWIF or not. Just click on OnWIF, and on the top right you can see conformant device, and when you scroll down you will see there are two types. Application type, okay, I'm doing a blank search. When you search for blank, you will see around 19,000 products are listed. So you can see the amount of camera manufacturers and the model numbers. There are 19,000 plus. Okay, you can also filter by brand. So how do you know a vendor is on with? You can directly type there that particular vendor name and you will find it. Some vendors, they will say they are on with, but it will not be listed. Okay, they may put it on the data sheet, but it will not be listed. So you can also double check from the OnWIF website. Okay, now you will see there is two things: OnWIF device, OnWIF client. Device means camera, client means the guy receiving the camera, the recording unit or the video management system. That is called client. Both should support OnWIF. Okay, I hope that is clear. Now, always there is a benefit of using native language. Okay, Every vendor, whatever features they have, they will support it in there. Just like English, I can speak English, but I also have another parent language, right? Mother tongue. So in my mother tongue, maybe I can have more better communication. Okay. So every camera also has a mother tongue. So some vendors support mother tongue also. Like for example, Milestone, Genetech, they support both with our camera. They support on-with integration with our camera, but they also support native integration. That means they can see our camera as it is. They every single feature as it is. So every analytics they can see, every feature they can see. So that requires some extra effort. So we have a separate team who does that to make sure our camera is deeply integrated, not just on with. In addition to on with, we also make sure every camera with all the features, which is alarm input, audio input, every 15 plus analytics, AI integration, and then SD card, all single feature, setting the camera, all that, they make sure it is deeply integrated with third party. Okay. Although there are 100 plus VMS, we have a set of high priority VMSs that we integrate over 10 or 11 VMS companies. We are constantly monitoring and making sure our cameras are integrated in the mother tongue with the native driver. So you don't have to wait for OnWave to release. We are already integrated with every feature. Okay. So that depends on vendor to vendor. Okay. They are every vendor will say they are integrated, but you have to ask by what, OnWave or native. All right. If they are doing only OnWave integration and OnWave S, and your project, you're buying the best VMS and the best camera, but they both have no native integration. They only have OnWave S. So the camera may have 20 analytics, but you will not get it in the VMS. Okay, because they both are only speaking via OnWave S, and through S, maybe they didn't integrate all the analytic features. So it may have on the data sheet, but on the software side, you will not receive it. So that situation, make sure they have native driver integration, or you don't use the word mother tongue, you can use the word native driver, okay, or API based integration. Cybersecurity. Okay. Uh, there are a couple of words used in cybersecurity for every camera or in this cybersecurity world. Backdoor. Backdoor means you can access the camera with a master password. Okay, many low-cost brands, they have this kind of option, and it is hard-coded. Hard-coded means you bought the camera, it is in the chipset of the camera. You cannot change it, right? So it's hard-coded into the chipset. What is the password? And anybody who has access to the master password can access any camera installed anywhere in the world. That is backdoor. What is front door? Front door means, if I'm not sure if you remember, when I try to log into a camera, so I don't know if this is online. Yeah, if I try to log into this camera, it's asking for username and password. That is the front door. You go to the IP address and so on. But you type slash something and some code and automatically you get access. That is backdoor. Weak password policy. If you see default password, many brands still follow this uh, default CCTV password. So that's my okay. So many brands still follow this password called uh, admin 1234. Yeah. So and they don't change it. Whoever is installing also will not change it because it's easy to keep it that way. So weak password policy. Okay, it's not weak password. It's the policy of the vendor. For us, we don't have this default password or weak password concept. You have to have a password with at least 8 letters. You must have a password with a capital letter, small letter, symbol, number. You need to have all this combination. That is our policy. Without that, our camera will not accept a password. Okay, and there is no default password. That means there is no 1234 or admin. When you buy the camera, the camera will come with no password at all, and it will first ask you to set up a password. So only you know who set it up. Nobody else will know that. Okay, so that is one way. Firmware encryption, unused port, these are again lesser commonly used. Unused port means port it's like this. When you go to Shikzad Road, yeah, it's the road, right? There is Shikzad Road. You can go to Dubai to Abu Dhabi to Sharjah and so on. But in the road, there are different lane, speed lane. So uh, there is channeling. Same way in CCTV, you can take video, audio, web page, recording, everything you can do with the camera, but it is channeled through port numbers. Okay, every traffic is separated through different ports. Just like in the road, there is different lanes. Same way in CCTV also, there are port numbers. Now, unused port. If some port is not used, we will not leave it open. We'll lock it. We'll close it. Okay. So if you keep it open, someone can access. All right. You can think of this way. You would lock the front door, you lock the back door of your house, but you left the window open. So someone can come through the window. So it's not easy, but it is possible to come. So that is called unused port open. Firmware encryption, the software running in the camera, you can update the software, so you can download take a backup of the software. But when you take a backup, if I can go and open the file and it says there is a folder called password, and if I open it there is a notepad called username and password, that means anybody can access that camera, right? So that is encrypted, so no one can decrypt that file. Okay, buffer overflow. This is the old school method, whereas you keep on forcing the camera and then it will give up. It's like, in someplace okay, let's not take that example. So let's say if you keep telling the person, let's say you beat up the person so much that he agrees, yeah, okay, it's my mistake, like that. So it's same with the camera. If you keep on forcing the camera, overflowing its memory, it will give up and open itself up so you can access the camera. Okay. So cameras have DDoS prevention. So if a person is trying to keep on access the camera, it will deny access for a few seconds, for 30 seconds and so on, till he tries to log in again. And it keeps a log of everything. So for example, if you go to the camera, you go to the system log, you have an option here to figure out who tried to log in, which IP address, at what time, whether they passed to log in, whether they failed to log in. You have all the log details in the camera. And cybersecurity is not one step, there is multi-layer. You might have seen this in risk management, defense in depth. Okay, it's not just locking the door, you have to have multiple other levels of protection. For example, when you go to the bank, just because you enter the bank doesn't mean you have access to everything inside the bank. You cannot see their staff files, you cannot go to the deposit box where they keep the cash. So they still have another locking mechanism, right? Same way for camera, there are different layers you have to use to protect. Okay, so and that layering can come from the chipset level. So for example, our chipset, we have secure boot. When the camera boots up, it checks if someone changed the firmware, if someone manipulated the software in the camera. Okay, and it checks that before booting up itself. Okay, so going forward, what are the different common methods? Certificate based HTTPS protection. Okay, then SSL 802.1. It's again password based protection. This is one of the highest methods commonly seen in banks. When you connect a camera to the bank network, that network will immediately reject that camera. Okay, so bank has to issue a certificate. It's all in the digital certificate, and you have to install that digital certificate in the camera. So you have to install that in the camera. So the camera will show the certificate. It's like an invitation card. It will show that certificate to the bank network and it will open the port. So only devices which have the certificate authorized to access the bank network can be installed. So tomorrow I cannot plug a random camera and start monitoring. It will not allow. Okay, tomorrow I cannot plug a random NVR, it will not allow. So it has to be authorized by the bank with their certificate. So certificate based authentication is also possible in CCTV. IP address filtering is possible. You can deny access to certain IP addresses. You can give access to only specific IP addresses, can be done. Every camera has got port number, right? So if you go to the web page of the camera, let's say I'm going to this camera 192.168 or 1.56. 56 is that web page is actually port number 80. So when I put port number 80, it will go to the web page of the camera. You can see it is going to the web viewer. But if I put 192.168.1.56 port number 90, it will try to log in and cannot be displayed. So everything from the camera, it goes through a specific port. Okay, default port means when you just type the IP address, automatically it will use port 80. Okay, so tomorrow if someone wants to check the web page of the camera, they know that this camera for sure it is port number 80. They don't have to ask you. They know port number 80 is for the web page. If I put 90, it I cannot access the web page. So you can go and change in the camera what is the port number for the web page. So here I'm going to my camera for 56. I can go to the settings. I can go to the IP and port, change the port number. By default port 80. I'm going to make it port 8090, for example. Apply, done. Okay, closed. Now I'm going back to the camera 1.56. But now it will not access because someone changed the port number for the web page. I cannot access the camera. So the hacker, if he's trying to hack the camera, he will say maybe it is port number 80. Let me try. No, it will not access. Now he has to guess what is the port number for the web page of the camera. The port number can be from 80 to 60,000 or 50 some thousand. So it can be any combination, right? So there is no way for the hacker to guess the port number. So you have made it more difficult for the person to hack. So now if I go to 192.168, the 1.56, 8090, right? When I put 8090, because I know the camera port number, so I can go directly. It will take me to the web page. It will ask me for the username and password, and I can access. So you see, now you made it more difficult. The person, even if he knows the IP address, he cannot access the camera because you changed the port number. So many brands actually don't support changing port number because it's more headache. Because you can put any number and their software programmer, whoever developed the camera, has developed it with only port 80. So when you change it, camera will go offline. So there are many brands like that, but for us, it's a basic feature in all our cameras. It is editable. Okay, VLAN, virtual LAN. Okay, done. Virtual LAN, split your network. Okay, okay, it's good to see the picture here. You have okay, you have in the office CCTV network and computer network. For example, in my if in my office I have CCTV cameras installed all across the office. If I know the IP address, I can monitor someone else's desk. That is weird, right? So if you want to split that, if you don't want that network to be accessed, you can split virtually in the switch and say all the CCTV belongs to a separate virtual or separate LAN network, and all the computer office computers belong to a different network. They cannot speak to each other unless you route it. Okay, you can close the routing so they don't speak to each other. You can do that. Okay. That means you're protecting the CCTV system from getting accessed by other guys. Okay, just a second. Okay, so apologies. So let's continue. Physical access. Okay, all said and done. Lastly, physical access. You have a recorder. Make sure your recorders and network switches are locked. It's not accessible easily, right? Then camera should not be within a reachable distance. So that can be done. There are analytics in the camera. Okay, we saw artificial intelligence. That is okay, but there are many more analytics in the camera, such as we saw this one. If some motion, motion detection. If someone enters a specific area, you can trigger. There is virtual line. This also is there. You draw a line. If anybody is crossing the line, you can tell which direction, what time, all that you can do. Virtual area. That means instead of a line, you draw an area. Okay, instead of a line, you draw an area. So within the area, if any object leaves or enters, so you can have a safety area where the CCTV equipment is stored. If someone enters that, you can get an alarm. Or tamper detection. If someone blocks the camera view, changes the camera view, it will automatically detect the alarm. Then there are other analytics, face detection and audio detection and other things. But analytics also is available in the camera. There are over 15 analytics available: appear, disappear, someone left the object, someone removed an object, loitering, just moving around in the area, someone crossing a line. Line means border crossing. Area enter exit means area crossing. Okay, they leave the area. Car is leaving in the night from the parking lot, you can get alarm. Or car is entering in the area after a certain time, you can get alarm. Motion, tampering, or parking in the wrong area, you can get alarm. Tampering, blocking the camera view, you can get alarm. Fog, blocking the camera view is blocked by fog, you can get alarm. Or smoke. Sound, if some glass is broken, it can hear the sound and raise alarm. So all these analytics, counting heat maps, these analytics also can be used, some of them, for security purposes in the control room, in the storage room, in the IT room, to trigger an alarm when someone is accessing the system or intruding. Okay, most CCTV systems also support splitting the network. Splitting the network. So if you have VMS, if you have a recorder, in the recorder, behind the recorder, it will have multiple network ports. One network you can use for connecting all the cameras. The other network you can give to the supervisor. The supervisor cannot access the camera directly, but he can access it through the network recorder. Okay, so maybe this security network, you have camera access control and many systems. Okay, but you will split with another network port. I mean, we have multiple network cards behind our recorders. This operator guy can only access this port and access the camera video from the NVR only. He cannot access directly camera or some other device in the security network. So you can split the network through NVRs or even VMS servers. You can do the same. Okay. Then there are many third-party certifications available, like UL certification, UK certification called Secure by Default. Every vendor has got a book, white paper book, guidelines to follow depending on the level of security that you need. They will tell you change this feature, add this feature, remove this feature in the camera. All the features are there, but someone has to give you a guideline how to use it, right? So they have a hardening guide. You say, okay, I need very high level of cybersecurity, then there will be 20 features which you should do to reach that level. So we have that guide also. But one thing is for sure, by default, our camera is secure. That certification is called secure by default. You don't have to, I mean, if something happens, your camera got hacked, the vendor will tell you, oh, why you didn't disable this, right? You should not end up in that situation. That's why there is a certification called secure by default. So vendor cannot come and say why you didn't default, change the setting. By default, the settings which is not, or which can cause an intruder to get access to the camera, by default those settings should be turned on and activated. So we do that in all our cameras. That's why we have these certifications. So you don't have to worry from the default state, from the initial stage. it is in the secure settings. And then you can make it, you can turn off some feature if you want, but that is your choice. Okay, so we have one more topic to cover, actually two, but we'll just do one for today. Yeah. Any questions so far? Okay. Mm, okay. All right. Next is NVR and VMS. Not really suitable for today's topic. Okay, so I think it is best we cover this topic tomorrow because it's also a heavy topic, and it would be best to have your full attention on that. So we will cover that topic tomorrow, and then we will go directly to some networking in the morning again. Uh, so and then jump to control room settings and read. Okay. All right. So if I have to end for today, and it would be probably just this basic one. Let's probably cover that. Okay. Okay. Let's just, yeah, RAID will be covered tomorrow. We'll cover that. Okay, just two more points in networking. IP config, this is a command line. Then ping. I think most of you already know this. Ping. What is a ping? If your camera is offline, if you don't know whether the camera can communicate with the recorder with your network, you just ping the camera and figure out. So you click start run and you type CMD, and you can check the camera is online or offline by typing one dot ping. So if you get a response, that means your communication is clear. So if I put 59, there is no camera 59, so there is no response. So the good thing is, this is one way to check whether the IP address is free. So if you have a new camera and you check this IP address is free, you can use this IP for the camera. Next is IP config, is to understand what is the configuration of your PC. So when I put IP config in command prompt, so how do you go to command prompt? Start button, then type run, and then you will get this dialog box, and you type CMD, command line prompt. Okay, so when I type IP config, it tells me what is the IP address of my system. My IP address is 1.88, and my Wi-Fi IP address is so and so, and subnet mask and so and so. So this way you can find out what is the IP address of your PC. There are of course many ways, many other ways also to find the IP address. You can go to your network settings, change adapter options, and then you will end up here. You can click on your Ethernet and find the details, and you can get your IP address settings. Okay, what is the current IP? So you can also check here what is the IP address and so on. So okay, all right. So that brings us to the end of today's class. If you have any further questions, let me know. As you know, this is a general training. If you have product specific doubts, how this camera, how to configure this, that's for a different session. how to configure. We have product training. Just get in touch with me during after the session or during the product training. I can assist you. But here we are only covering general topics. So if you have any questions on that, you can feel free to ask me now. Okay, as usual, you will get an email with the quiz link and also the recording very soon. And we'll be in touch tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last day. We'll cover VMS. We will cover some networking again. We'll cover rate. We'll cover control room design. 4 topics for tomorrow. Thank you everyone for your time. Have a great day. Okay, welcome. Okay, so I have one question. What is the, can I explain native language? How RAID works? So RAID concept we will cover tomorrow. Yeah. How, what will happen if RAID fails? We'll cover tomorrow. Yeah, and next question, can you explain native language concept again? All right, so native language. Okay, let me, uh, okay, ONWIF, okay, ONWIF and native language. So, Sun API, 1 second. There is a nice website which is explaining that. Let me see if this will answer your question. Taking time to load. Okay. Our native language is called Sun API. Our native language is called Sun API. Then the common global language is English, ONWIF. Okay, so if you want to integrate our product, if you use the native language, Sun API, there are over 1,000 or 2,000 settings in the camera. Every single setting you can access through the Sun API language. But ONWIF is only focusing on, let's say we may have a prefer shutter setting. We will have calibration setting and analytics. We will have changing the network port settings in IP. But according to ONWIF, they will not develop that software for every single feature in the world for cameras. They will only do for the basic features to make the camera work. That is to get the video, that is to change the IP address. So through ONWIF, you can change the IP address, but you may not be able to change specifically port numbers, and you may not be able to change certain additional parameters, right? So that's the difference when you integrate with ONWIF or with native driver. But um, we also support many functions. We actually support, even with ONWIF, we support our analytics, but that is decided by the vendor. It's not mandatory. According to ONWIF, it is not mandatory. Analytics should be sent over ONWIF protocol, but it is optional feature. So we support that. So some vendors will do the basic compliance. They may not support every feature through ONWIF. So the best way is to ask a vendor that you work with, and VMS, if you have two different brands of camera and VMS, ask them how they're integrated. That will open up your discussion on this topic and you'll get more details about it. How can I become product specialist? We have training. So we have two things: e-learning, Wisenet e-learning, or you also have we have e-learning portal. How to register on e-learning? We have a YouTube video. You can check that. And then we also have our website where you can also access other trainings, academy support, academy, e-learning we saw, webinar. We have other trainings also, webinar. And we will have all the trainings listed by date and time. So come down, Middle East and Africa. Scroll down, you will see all the trainings listed here. You will see the video foundation course is actually listed here. This is how you can access the trainings. This is for Middle East Africa. If you're from other region, you have to choose accordingly and select and get access to the training. Trainings for Middle East Africa is free to attend. Other regions you can check individually when you access them. All right. So that brings us to end of today's class once again. Thank you everyone. There is no further questions, so we will close for today. A video analytics solution is perform investigative functions relation to recorded images from all the camera. How can we have the capability for natural language video search? Is to perform investigation the camera. How can we have the capability for natural language video search? Can I unmute your mic, Mayur? Maybe you can ask the question so I can understand better.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you very much for unmuting me. Yeah, so this is uh, related to analytics. So I'm not just able to understand whether this is a part of AI or an on-web compliance which is required that the recorded images inside a VMS or inside the storage, the recorded images, they should be able to be searched with the help of some natural language video search.
Mm. What is natural language video search means? Can you give me an example? Is it like we use a word called
Yeah, this is where
metadata?
the
Yeah.
yeah, this is where I am not able to just bifurcate whether this is related to some camera specification or it's related to VMS. So that's why I am just
Okay.
figuring out what does this mean really.
Okay. So camera should. Okay. There are to achieve analytics, you can have the camera doing the analytics, and it will send the result only. I have this like smoke detector. The smoke detector will detect there is smoke and give the conclusion to the panel. I detected smoke in the zone. Same way, the camera can detect there is an intrusion and decide finally and send the signal to the VMS. That is one way. The other way is the camera will only send video, but the VMS will have some additional add-on function to process that image and do analytics. Okay, that is one. First, going back to the first point, when the camera detected there is a motion, the camera, I mean, if it is a public entrance, the camera will always have a lot of people coming in, right? So that, of course, is its motion detection. But you can tell the camera, don't give me any alarm, but keep track of who all came. All right, that is called metadata. The camera is recording the video and some more information about the video, where the motion occurred. So, for example, uh, advanced search. I don't know if this answers your question, but if not, we'll see. We'll try to again. So here, this is a public street. People crossing, cars crossing. There is a gate here. People crossing here and there, walking here. So I don't want every time someone crosses, I don't want alarm. But I can tell the camera, keep track of what's going on. That's called turn on. We turn on the feature called metadata function. So now the camera is say recording video as well as what is happening in the video, where, when, what time car passed, person passed, it keeps a track. So tomorrow, when you do investigation, and that investigation is done with the help of a VMS software, that VMS software should have a feature called metadata search. If the VMS has metadata search and the camera is also sending metadata, you can go and mark an area where the incident occurred. For example, I can go and mark an area, click on this function and draw a box around a certain area and say, show me the timeline of incidents that happened in this zone, who all entered the zone. When I click the search button, it will tell me all the incidents. Okay, now the person crossed 1 hour back. Okay, I didn't get any alarm, but I am doing an investigative search based on a complaint, and I'm doing the search on a recorded video. Already the video is recorded. Already the camera detected some people and sent the metadata and is recorded. So post analysis, post forensic search. So this is done through metadata function. This is one. So with metadata, there are many VMSs which can do similar concept like this. So for example, instead of investigating the whole day, you have timelines here bookmarked automatically by the VMS and telling you all these time, first person to enter this area, last person to leave the area, or some VMSs can even play video, make a video of all the events when people entered and remove everything else. So your 1 day video will be like 5 minute video only with the incidents. So this is one way. Then also when we were looking for a person with a red color shirt, all this is metadata, and every time a person with a red shirt, it didn't create alarm, but it's all recorded and kept. Okay, so the camera should have certain function. That same feature should be supported in the VMS also. Both should be contributing to the search function. I'll give you an example. We have analytic search engine. Sorry, we have AI camera. We can detect person, car, and so on. But there was a customer. He has a VMS which is already 10 years old. All right, that VMS company is no longer investing in R&D. So our camera is sending data. Our camera is telling there is a person with a red shirt, but that VMS does not have a search button where you can search by shirt color. So if the VMS does not have that feature, you will not be able to do metadata search. But if you put an alarm, if you put a scenario and say, whenever the camera detected in this area a car or a person crossing, send an alarm, okay, it will receive the alarm. But metadata search is not there because 10 years back that concept did not exist. So for many VMSs, we are developing additional plugins. We are adding a new button in their VMS, how to search with our cameras itself. So it's both should support. And OnWIF, when we released, OnWIF had nothing to do with AI. So even if the camera is OnWIF, VMS is OnWIF, but OnWIF never talked about AI search. Even today, they don't talk so much about this. Only number plate searching, face recognition, which is commonly used. They only talk about that much, but not too much into other things like shirt color and other things. So for this kind of feature integration, you need native driver. I'm also answering someone else's question. With OnWave, you cannot really get everything. So both vendor and camera should support full features. Another best option is to buy everything from one brand. Also, there are good VMS companies which are constantly in touch with the latest technology. So even them you can use for sure. I don't know if I answered your question fully, but if not, just let me know.
Yeah, so nowadays all cameras also are coming with